Hi Patch, my name's Gavin, we've got Brian here and we've got a special guest tonight and his name's Robin Clunie. Welcome Robin.
Thank you.
How are you doing? Tonight we've got a really interesting subject to talk about tonight, and it's an idea that Robin has been working on for the last 2 years, and it's called the Land Wealth for People Welfare Claim of Right.
That's right, yeah.
And it's basically roughly around the same idea as a citizen's basic income.
It's based on that, yeah.
And Robin's been working on it for 2 years, as I said, and we've got some questions to ask you about. And first of all, could you just explain briefly what is
the basic idea?
Yes.
The basic idea is that the land of Scotland actually belongs to us all. So the basic premise is that you democratise ownership of land. The entity that would hold title to it is the Common Good Bank, but each citizen is a shareholder in that Common Good Bank. So the rents for access and using land, either for growing crops, having industry, whatever you do, then that rents go to the Common Good Bank, which then distributes those revenues as dividends and allowances to every citizen and child. And that gets rid of your means tested benefit system, because we own the resource, the fundamental resource in which we all need to live, for providing for our basic needs of food, clothing and shelter. So if you give everybody that citizen's income, then you don't have a benefit system. What you have is a rights system through ownership. So everybody has let's say there's 4 million adults, so you'd have a 4 million share of the whole of Scotland.
right? And why do you think we need this sort of system then, Robin?
We've got somewhere between 800,000 and 1 million people in Scotland, which is almost a fifth of our population, living in poverty or destitution. So that is a reason in and of itself to try and do something about that situation.
I agree with that.
We've got a situation where maybe at most 30,000 people in Scotland, or limited companies or people living out with Scotland, own a significant chunk of the land. They've privatised the benefits of that to themselves, that rent for access, for growing food and all the rest of it. That's roughly a revenue stream to them of somewhere about between 40 and 45 billion pounds a year, going to approximately 30,000 people. And that's because their ancestors privatised it and forced us off. We weren't allowed access unless we paid money. They own our food supply, they own us. So this is about freedom, it's about equality. So that's why I call it democratisation of land ownership. So the money that's gathered in is then distributed to each and every citizen. Now, if you're on a means tested system just now, this delivers you much more at the rates I'm proposing. This lifts you right out of poverty straight away. Automation is coming in the future. Therefore, there's going to be less jobs.
Automation started in the 1920s. Farms were automated in the 20s. Then in the 70s, 80s, the factories where everybody went to get a job were automated, and now offices have been
Offices, we could see in the future. We could see in the future where there won't be any bus drivers, for example. There won't be any taxi drivers. We've seen it on Total Recall, for example. Have you seen a movie like that? The train drivers.
The construction industry is difficult. Well, it's difficult to automate on site because you need bodies on site.
So basically, what you're saying is in the future. Say, I don't know, 20,
we've got to
30 years
future-proof ourselves.
Yeah.
You say on site. You're on about construction.
You still need guys on site to do stuff, but the professionals, there's a reduction in the number of people.
3D print a house now.
Yeah, but it's that's only one material. If you still want that variety in your external environment, you're going to have to do other things.
But that's right now.
Yeah, I take your point, but it explains exactly why I think we need to future-proof ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to be that everybody has this income for the simple democratic right of freedom of choice, equality of opportunity, and if you can provide those, you've taken a huge step towards real social justice.
And how do you think the Scottish Government could go about in like implementing these sort of policies in Robin?
I am of the opinion that the Scottish Government, if it was being bold, has the powers to do this now. Scottish Government has a control over land. It is about to get other powers in relation to social, to the benefit system.
I'm going to interject there. When you say land, the Scottish Government has power over land. A lot of our land is actually underwater. It's in the sea. And that's what we don't have a control of, and that's where large
the offshore,
wealth
right?
is.
But
You mean the Crown Estate?
Well, yeah,
No,
the coastal waters.
Aye.
Yeah, well, this paper does not touch on our marine resources and what lies underneath it, but because I had set out to prove that oil is a bonus, not a necessity.
Yeah.
And I've proven this to my own satisfaction, that we do have the resources to give everybody a decent lifestyle, a basic decent lifestyle, without dependence on oil. That is a good point, what you're saying, but it is not absolutely necessary to deliver what I'm trying to deliver.
Do you mean it's not a burden? It's a bonus.
It's a huge bonus.
Did you hear that? Oil's not a burden. It's a bonus.
If the Norwegians can build a sovereign wealth fund on oil revenues alone, and we can, using this, can start that, then the oil revenues are the hugest of huge bonuses.
It's not just oil though. Offshore, it's renewables.
Yeah,
That's what I was just going to bring up that point.
These are all the extrapolations that
Tidal
you start
wave,
making.
wind.
Tidal wave, gas, oil.
But that's getting away from the original point of what you were asking.
But that's all a bonus.
Yes, they're bonuses.
So,
Yes.
so
Right.
I'd got up to automation.
Yeah.
So we've got to future-proof ourselves, because now what that means is if we don't, then those who own the resource and own the factories that are making all this stuff, you're going to have a huge population who has no access to money whatsoever. Now, the only way this system works is if people have resource to buy what's being made. If they're not got the money to buy what's being made, then they won't make things. And that is a downward slope. That's a reduction in your economic
So basically, what you're saying
activity.
is, in the future, if we don't change the way soon, what you're saying in the future is if we could have big companies, for example, like Amazon, right, could be offering people like
work for food.
like silly money wages, like right, and then but people will be that desperate.
They'll not be able to buy the stuff.
That they'll take the job even though the money's
Rubbish.
And what you're saying is your system is a system where everybody is going to be treated as an equal. Everybody will be treated as a.
Everybody has the opportunity to turn down 0 hours minimum wage contracts because you're getting a set bundle of money.
So basically, it puts the power back into the hands of
the people.
Rather than.
But it's passive. You don't have to have great rafts of legislation. It's people defending their own rights as a sovereign citizen of the Scots Commonwealth, rather than have politicians having to legislate for it. And that means this frees up politicians to stop having to firefight all our social problems. It means they can actually devise policies for betterment. They can be positivist rather than dealing with loads and loads of negatives. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yeah. That's brilliant. So moving on from that point, then obviously that leads on to the total the benefits. What good do you think you can see for that?
Well,
that sort of system.
No more mean testing. No more the position where someone sits on one side of the desk where they're getting a good salary, talking to someone who's on nothing and saying, well, I'm afraid you'll just have to starve or go to a food bank. Because it's an unequal situation. Now, with this system, with your Common Good Bank, Common Good Agency, the people who are working in it are also shareholders, the same as everybody else. And since everybody's getting this citizen's income as a right, that equalises the nature of the relationship between someone who's in need and someone who can deliver to satisfy that need. That's democracy. That's equality that's the equalisation. What we've inherited is a system based on coercion and exploitation. And it's coercion based fundamentally on if you cannot access the resource to get food, you starve. In the absence of either state charity or food banks or anything like that, if you have no resource, you starve. And the system's based on that.
And
So
that
this is to change that.
and that needs to change, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a...
So, citizens' income,
Yeah.
it's basically going to be, it's based on your tax-free allowance, the
What-
threshold.
My starting point was to say if the government says that 10,800 is your tax free on a wage.
It's 11,500.
Now, right,
Yeah,
but
right. So, but I've done
aye,
my basic figures based on that, and I've come up with a figure of £44.7 billion a year.
to
That's what we're going to need to fork out.
right.
So how are you going to raise that? How much did you plan?
Well,
Right.
I reckon that for rents for access, for whatever purpose, at differential rates for the kind of use that you're going to put the land,
What's the figure?
it's 63.5 billion.
So you're planning to raise 63.5, we only need 44, and oil's a bonus.
No, the way I've structured it on the money
Aye,
that I've
no.
got is 58.
Aye, on the way you've done it.
Yeah.
From our basic figure,
Yeah,
we need
right,
44.
agreed.
And you're planning to raise 63.5,
Yeah.
which you reckon we need 58. And we've still got oil, Gav. We've still got everything that's offshore
Mm-hmm.
on top of that. So we can absolutely afford this.
What we need to explain is that this is not taxation. This is the revenues from the land use coming in. Now everybody will own the bit of land, outright, they own the bit of land that their house sits on. And you pay a tax on your private land and you pay a tax on your house. And the reason for that is that you cannot electronically transfer land or buildings outside of a jurisdiction. The other thing is, this money comes in up front, at the absolutely fundamental level of the economy. That's the first source of wealth, is the exploitation of the natural resource. Everything else in the economy is built off that base. So instead of trying to tax when half the money's been hidden away in tax havens, you're getting the money at the root, and then everything else can happen after that.
Now that figure that you've quoted works out less than £1 per square metre.
Approximately, depending on how you
For the whole
jump-
of the UK. And I
No,
know-
no,
I
for
know-
Scotland.
Sorry, for the whole of
Scotland.
For the whole of
I'm
Scotland.
not interested in the UK.
For the whole of Scotland. well, I said we could stop. If we didn't get independence, we could
Unless
stop when it was all Scotland.
Unless we invade and take the land
No,
back.
no. Seriously though, if
Right,
we,
so it's
seriously.
less.
we're
less than
people that
£1.
could make this work.
Aye.
And
Less than
as a
£1
model
square metre.
for other countries, if they wish to follow this kind of model, this is transformational about the way the relationship between the haves and have-nots, because you're not going to have-nots. So
And we won't have too many halves.
power follows wealth, wealth follows power. If we're delivering on the basis every year to an ordinary citizen 12 grand a year, and then they're working, that changes the nature of the balance of power within the society. Because I made the point, those who own the resource that allows for your food supply, they own society.
Aye.
You may think you're free, but if you've not got the money to pay your bills, that's when you feel the cage closing in on you.
Aye, that's when you feel it.
That's when you feel it. You lose
So-
your job, and
You said about land reform, but are we going to have any transitional arrangements?
well,
Is it going to just change overnight?
no, well, the simplest thing is that you don't need a revolution. All you've got to do is reform the laws of land ownership, that you can own the bit of ground that your house sits on, but everything else is in community ownership, basically.
So,
So this is about reforming the law. Now, how you transition through that, I would think that the real issue is going to be about levels of compensation for those who own land, think they own the land, because it was really stolen in the first
well,
place.
you can't own stolen property because you end up in a cliff.
Yeah, right.
It's been stolen, and the white man Poor Are No Lawyers tells you all about that if you want to read
Yeah.
about that. But
We've got a transition.
just say right now there's a farmer owns a farm,
Hmm.
and then we change the system, the farmer doesn't own the farm. Well, he didn't own it in the first place, because
Yeah,
somebody else owned the farm, he was a tenant farmer.
Yeah.
Now he can own the farm.
No.
So is that farm going to be owned by the people?
It was owned by the
And
people.
he's gonna pay tax on the
No,
usage.
it's not tax. It is rent.
He's going to rent.
Instead of paying rent to a private landowner
He's gonna
like
pay it
the
to-
lordships who
He's going
own,
to pay it to the people.
it goes in. Aye, but he's paying it to himself because it goes into the community bank, and he's getting his personal dividend. His wife's getting the personal dividend, and the kids get their allowance. So it balances its way out.
Yeah.
That see all these farm subsidies that come from Europe, they end up in the big landowners' pockets, not that farmer. And because the European system, they've had their revolutions. They democratised on a basis of privatisation for small landowners. Now their whole system is geared to deliver money to a wee smallholder, and it works for Europe. It doesn't work in this situation where we've got a tiny minority on the land,
Well,
and they
we've
collect
got
that
the
money.
German Lairdy own 100,000 acres of Scotland.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making.
Right.
They can come here and be major landowners and be subsidised
By us.
through the farm subsidy system that is okay for Europe,
Aye.
but is not okay for the way our land ownership is
Well, we're
structured.
part of Europe at the moment, so we're paying in, they're taking out.
It's like those who are building a property empire based on the housing benefit system.
Yeah.
It's the same misapplication of funds, because that's supposed to allow people to get a house, but somebody's building a property empire. Ex-council houses come up on the market, they're cash rich, they can go in and overbid by about 10%, which means somebody who's a young couple trying to get in the housing market, they've got to find somewhere about 20,000 quid to start with, and then they're getting outbid. So then they've got to go and rent for the guy that bought it and pay more in rent than they would have paid as a mortgage.
Yeah.
So, so when you start looking at all these outcomes and extrapolate from some of these things, this is transformational.
It certainly is.
So
It's-
looking at this from a one person point of view, what's in it for an individual?
Well, I was just going to ask similar the same question. It was like at the moment, like for the individual, right? If like just I'm a 46, right? If I was to crook at them on, right, then any pension that I was due, like when I was 65 or that, would be lost.
That's lost,
at the
aye.
moment.
State
So-
pension.
Aye, so under this system, you're saying under this system it would be
You're paying from 16 to 66, and it's a individual pension pot. So that money's getting paid in
and it would be
monthly,
inherited. Aye,
£100 a month, and then if you did die before your time,
aye.
then whatever was in that pot, plus it's with profits, you know, because of the investment money, that goes to your family. That's heritable. And there's provisions in there that it's non-taxable.
Right.
Why should it be taxed? Because that has come out of your social welfare money. It's non-taxable. You do not tax this social welfare money. It should be written into the Constitution that there can be no, and it's in the paper, that there's no taxation measure can undermine what the points and principles of the social wage are.
Aye. So it's a win-win situation then, basically, you think about it. Right?
It's
and at the moment you've got at the moment we've got if you started working say at 20 and paid a pension up until you were 30, and then or then from 30 until 60, basically you would earn more of a pension between the ages of 20 and 30.
Then you're
Because
going to
they
get
built
later.
up when you get later.
aye.
So basically this is like beneficial in the long run for you
You start early at
and
16.
and you
We
could
start
start
at
at
16
16
to
and
And you
six-
got 4
to
years before you were 20.
exactly.
16 to 60, call it 50 years
Aye.
at a nominal,
50 years
at
old.
1915 prices, because that's what the paper's based on. You've got this £100 a month, so that's
20
£1,200.
places.
20, did I say 19?
You did say 19.
Right, so I think because it's the conditions of 1915 that we're getting taken back to,
Aye.
that I'm trying to
That's-
avoid us getting taken
Well,
back to.
that's a good point actually. I was just
Yeah,
that came
so
to
this £1,200 a year times 50 is 60,000 nominal, but that's 50 years of investment.
Aye.
So that could deliver at 2015 prices,
19
that would deliver a nominal 300,000 at least. Now that would give an annuity of 15,000. Now when you get to 66, you're still entitled to your citizens' dividend of the full dividend of 12. So that means every old age pensioner would have 27k every year. So there's no more of this having to choose between eating and heating.
Aye.
And the likelihood over the spread of time is that they'll own their own home anyway. So there's another piece of wealth that goes back into a family. So instead of the minority clawing all this to themselves and they inherit great wealth, they'll inherit less, but more people will inherit more.
What this plan is going to do is going to lift everybody up to be wealthy. Rather than drag the
Have
wealthy,
more wealth
More
for the majority.
more equal.
everybody's going to be
More equality.
lifted up.
If that's your curve, and these are the minted minority, and there's your line where people, in the absence of any charity, starve, then you tilt that this much for them, and these people come up out of the danger zone. It's like a big lever, but the fulcrum's there, and the whole thing tilts that way. But they have to take they take only relatively less to benefit everybody in the first instance. But over time, with this continuing system,
Yeah.
the only
Everybody.
people who will be poor will be those who prefer to live like that.
Aye.
But nobody
There
will
will be no involuntary poverty.
Nobody will be poor with us.
So then,
No,
and then
Because well,
yes.
over time, everybody will be
Unless they choose to put
everybody will
themselves
be
in that
wealthy.
position.
which there is, I mean, even
There's always this mind. Look, anything is a
Always
bell
a
curve.
No, because you can, because
See,
you're going to have,
You've got your
You're gonna
bell
have-
curve, right?
you're going to have
And-
wages.
And at this end, you've got high achievers, and this you've got the lowest of achievers. But most of us sit somewhere in that hump, right? These ones, for whatever reason, either inadequacy or whatever, they'll be self-identifying. So there's no more this Tory argument of confusing the working poor or people who are not working involuntarily, and they can't get to confuse those people with those who are chronically lazy. Because that's part of the problem just now, is they're playing a game of splitting the working poor from the non-working poor, and then playing a game of the non-working poor who want a job against those who don't. They're trying to put those two together, and that means those working who are paying the tax money to pay the existing benefit system resent paying it, because it's a Tory game.
Oh, but it's going to lift everybody, so everybody will end up.
There's a seat in the lifeboat for everybody,
It's-
but if somebody
the
chooses
point-
to jump out, that's their choice.
Aye.
That's the freedom of choice element.
Aye.
Well, there's-
I have the freedom of choice to be a complete numpty and idiot if I choose to be.
And that's
But
your- that's your
I don't
right
get
to
to
do that.
damage anybody else round about me.
if you want to jump out, that's a good analogy actually. If you want to jump out the lifeboat, then it's completely up to yourself.
But the thing is that as jobs get scarcer,
Aye.
The pit's going to
there'll
get
be
deeper.
more people that will be stuck. that
Yes,
can't.
yeah.
Aye.
But, so the thing is that they'll be raised up, so they won't be poor. So that now education becomes about a choice,
Yeah.
and about what do you want to study, what are you interested in, why should you study that, and so we can get all sorts of benefits of education
Cultural
for people
benefits.
who are getting educated because they want to be educated,
Yes.
not because of some perceived earnings or some perceived job, just because they want to know about stuff. And we don't know, like when I was at college in the 70s, I didn't know anything about microprocessors, but I done a course on it, but there was no application for it really.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years ago I was working on something that I could design, but it was a building management system, and I was installing something that I could actually design because I'd learned, but there was no, when I learned it, there was no application. So we don't know what is going to be needed in the future. So if we get people learning things that they want to learn,
Yeah, yeah.
they'll learn better,
Yeah.
and we don't know what the benefits are going to be.
We don't.
And the one thing is, like, I think people would learn better if they've not got any like money worries, any housing worries,
Students
any
don't
debt
have-
worries, any stuff like that. So if you're in a situation where you've got You're just there to learn, and that's it.
Yeah.
Then obviously I think the intellect, the intelligence of the nation is going to
You're
improve.
focused.
It's,
You're
it's
focused.
not that you're just there to learn.
Aye.
You're there to learn something that you want
to learn. That's the
Well,
point.
And that's the driver.
But the thing
That's the winning
I think that-
driver.
but the whole good thing about it is when is like because you're taking away the worry, the debt and stuff
That's
like that.
the whole
right,
point.
Then,
That is the
then
point.
you will go and sort of learn something, say at college, right? Which is then going to benefit the country.
Right,
and all-
guys.
and all
See
that,
the
you
citizen's
know.
income
Yeah,
at different points in a
last
person's
point.
life, it will do different things.
Aye.
If you're young and want to do
Aye.
further education,
That's what
can you imagine 4 students in a flat in Glasgow or Edinburgh, wherever, each taking in 40,000? That's the total income coming into that flat. They don't
Aye.
need a job. They can focus on their education, or they can have a bit of fun at the same time.
Aye.
Now that leaves
That's-
the jobs open for those who are not following
Yeah.
an education course, and that's another reason why you take 16 and 17-year-olds continuing education, because then that leaves more jobs available for those who don't want to go for further education. But that doesn't mean to say they can't change their mind further along in their life.
If the jobs exist.
I think
Well, that's-
they'll become more. It will free up those who like working with their hands and making things, because then it'll be personal. So instead of having automated machinery making the same thing for 1 million of them, the value of someone handcrafting something, and you go and say, oh, that's beautiful, you'll pay money for that. That means they'll be able to explore their own creative elements.
Right, we're going to have to call it an end
Right.
there for tonight, because
That's
we
just
could be here for another 3 weeks.
That's just a quick summary. A quick summary on what we're going to be talking about. This
Hang on, I was saying something, yeah? We're going to leave it there. We're going to leave it there, Gav. Right?
We
We're going
have
to leave it
to.
there, right?
I was getting really interested.
We're going to have to do a series of these,
Aye.
because we're going to leave it there, because people can't sit all night watching this.
Do you want to advertise this?
So I'm going to get a copy of that, I'm going to scan it in the computer, and we're
Email
going
it
to
to
get
me.
up on iPatch.
Email it.
We're going to get up on iPatch.
Can I make one plug?
There you go.
There's an article in Common Space published the 2nd or 3rd of December 2016 in the magazine section. So anybody who wants to sort of explore this idea, that article is in there. This takes a 15 to 20 page document and brings it down to a page and a half. It's about 800 words. So that gives the absolute gist of what I've been trying to explain tonight.
That's
If you
great.
want to follow it up.
That's great, Robin.
Getting back to what I was trying to do.
I beg your pardon.
We're stopping then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant, Robin.